Clint Eastwood. He's always stood out through time.
The classic era of film and cinema.
I think Clint Eastwood characters embody different versions of strength, and strength in all its different forms.
Clint Eastwood, the name alone, conjures up grit, steel, and old-school Hollywood power. But behind the legend is a story few truly know. Before the fame, he nearly died in a plane crash. Before the awards, he was expelled from school. And while the world saw a fearless icon, his personal life was unraveling behind closed doors. Affairs, secret children, betrayal lawsuits, and now at 93 he's back in the spotlight after vanishing for over a year. What really happened to Clint Eastwood? Stay with us, because the truth is more shocking and more inspiring than anyone expected. When Clint Eastwood was born on May 31, 1930, nurses were stunned. The baby weighed over 11 pounds. They nicknamed him Samson, and it wouldn't be the last time he defied expectations. His early years were shaped by the Great Depression. Clint's father, Clinton Sr., took whatever work he could find, from selling stocks to investigating fraud, and the family moved constantly, never staying long in one place. It was a life of uncertainty, but it built resilience. Clint learned early that nothing was guaranteed, and that discipline would have to be self-taught. By the 1940s, the Eastwoods had settled in the quiet town of Piedmont, California, where they briefly enjoyed a comfortable life. Swimming pool, country club, a sense of stability. But Clint was restless. School never captivated him. He was held back in junior high and struggled to connect with academic life. His attention drifted toward hands-on work, cars, and music, not textbooks. That restless energy sometimes pushed boundaries. After a few high school pranks went too far, including one involving an obscene message on a scoreboard, Clint was expelled from Piedmont High. He transferred to Oakland Technical, where teachers noticed his potential and encouraged him to try drama. But Clint wasn't ready. He preferred the garage to the stage, the tennis court to the classroom. He had no plans to chase stardom. Instead, he threw himself into personal pursuits. He worked on engines, became a gifted piano player, and developed a quiet intensity that set him apart. He wasn't a rebel without a cause, just a young man still searching for his own. What Clint couldn't have known then was that his unlikely path was already taking shape, and it would lead straight into one of the most dangerous moments of his life, a moment that would push him to the edge and prove just how tough he really was. In 1951, Clint Eastwood was drafted into the U.S. Army. But instead of heading to the front lines in Korea, he was stationed at Fort Ord in California, working as a swimming instructor. It was a low-risk assignment, far from the battlefield. But fate had other plans. One weekend, Eastwood hitched a military flight back from Seattle. It was supposed to be a routine hop, just another transport run. But somewhere off the California coast, the weather turned fast. The skies darkened, visibility dropped, and then the unthinkable happened. Mid-flight, the aircraft's door suddenly flew open. Eastwood, sitting near the tail, scrambled to help secure it while battling howling winds and freezing air. That was just the beginning. Soon after, the oxygen system failed, the radios went silent, and worst of all, the plane ran out of fuel. With no communication and no way to reach the base, the pilot had no choice but to ditch the aircraft into the icy Pacific Ocean. It was miles from shore, shrouded in fog, and swarming with the unknown. Clint inflated a life raft, but it flipped in the chaos. Alone in open water, with darkness closing in, he began to swim. Estimates vary. Some say he swam 2 miles. Others say it was closer to 4. Either way, it was a brutal fight for survival, made worse by the cold and exhaustion. At one point, Clint began hallucinating. The only light came from the faint glow of bioluminescent plankton, an eerie shimmer in a deadly sea. And yet somehow, he made it. Clint Eastwood dragged himself onto a remote shoreline near an RCA radio tower, barely conscious. The pilot survived too. Against all odds, both men had escaped death. Years later, Clint would star in Escape from Alcatraz, portraying a man swimming through dangerous waters to freedom. But this real-life escape came first, and it left a mark. That near-death experience didn't just test his endurance, it helped forge the steel that audiences would later see on screen. But even after surviving the ocean, Clint Eastwood's toughest challenges were still ahead. Clint Eastwood didn't storm into Hollywood. He crept in, one awkward audition at a time. After surviving the crash and completing his Army service, he bounced between odd jobs, working at a gas station, digging swimming pools, even unloading freight. Acting wasn't a dream, not yet. But everything changed when he tagged along with a friend to a party in Los Angeles. There, by sheer luck, he was introduced to a universal talent scout. With his square jaw, towering height, and quiet intensity, Clint looked like he belonged on screen, even if he had no idea what he was doing. The studio signed him to a contract, but there was a problem. He couldn't act, at least not yet. His early screen tests were stiff. Directors said he talked through his teeth, his delivery flat and awkward. One even told him, "You're too tall, your Adam's apple sticks out, and you have a chipped tooth. You'll never make it." Most would have taken that as a sign to quit. Clint didn't. He kept showing up, kept learning, while other contract players faded out. Clint watched, practiced, studied everything, from lighting setups to how seasoned actors worked a scene. He got bit parts in low-budget monster flicks and westerns that barely paid the bills. He was just another face in the background. Then came Rawhide, a CBS Western series that needed a quiet, rugged cowboy type. Clint fit the bill. The role of Rowdy Yates wasn't glamorous, but it was consistent. Week after week, Eastwood was on national television. He wasn't a star, yet, but he was becoming a presence. And behind the scenes, he was preparing for something bigger. Years of rejection, bad lines, and forgettable roles had sharpened him. By the time the studios finally looked his way, Clint Eastwood wasn't just ready. He was dangerous. And when Hollywood finally gave him a real shot, he didn't just take it, he owned it. Clint Eastwood didn't become a legend in Hollywood. He crossed the border into Europe and built one there. In the early 1960s, just as Rawhide was winding down, Eastwood got an offer that most American actors turned down flat. An Italian director named Sergio Leone wanted to cast him in a low-budget Western filmed in Spain. The script was strange. The pay was low, the dialogue was sparse. Clint said yes. The film was a fistful of dollars, and it would change Westerns forever. Gone were the clean-cut heroes and tidy morality. Eastwood's man with no name was cold, mysterious, and violent. He didn't talk much, but when he did, it mattered. Audiences couldn't look away. The film exploded in Europe, and the sequels, for a few dollars more, and the good, the bad, and the ugly, elevated Eastwood to a global star. Leone's camera loved him. The wide shots, the clenched cigar, the narrowed eyes. Clint didn't play the hero, he played the survivor, and for post-war audiences, that felt more honest. When he returned to Hollywood, Eastwood brought that new edge with him. No longer just Rowdy Yates, he was now the face of a new kind of Western, grittier, bloodier, morally complex. In films like Hang 'em High, High Plains Drifter, and The Outlaw Josie Wales, Clint didn't just act, he started directing. He took creative control, shaping characters that didn't fit in neat boxes. Lawmen who broke the rules, outlaws with buried pain, gunslingers haunted by their pasts. The cowboy was no longer a clean hero riding into the sunset. Thanks to Eastwood, he was something more, something flawed, human, and unforgettable. And just when Hollywood thought they had him figured out, he introduced a new kind of character, one with a badge, a scowl, and a very big gun. The era of Dirty Harry was about to begin. By the early 1970s, Clint Eastwood had conquered the Old West, but his next role would drag him into the gritty heart of urban America. In Dirty Harry, he wasn't a cowboy or an outlaw, he was a cop, but not the kind who played by the rules. Harry Callahan was brutal, relentless, and unapologetic. He didn't wait for permission. He didn't care about red tape. He carried a .44 Magnum and wasn't afraid to use it. In an era rocked by rising crime rates and political unrest, audiences didn't just like Harry, they craved him. Critics were split. Some called Dirty Harry fascist. Others said it glorified violence. But Clint Eastwood wasn't playing politics. He was tapping into something raw, the fear, frustration, and moral gray area that millions of Americans felt but couldn't articulate. And he did it with just a look, a line, and that cold, steady stare. The film became a phenomenon. It was gritty, it was violent, and it struck a nerve. Clint wasn't just an actor anymore. He was a symbol of a country grappling with chaos. He made 4 sequels, each pushing the boundaries of what a lawman could be on screen. But while Dirty Harry was tough, he wasn't invincible. There were cracks beneath the surface. He was angry, isolated, and scarred by what he'd seen. And in that complexity, Clint found something deeper, a character who reflected the darker corners of masculinity, justice, and revenge. This wasn't just Eastwood playing a role. This was Eastwood reshaping American cinema. And while the world debated Dirty Harry, Clint was already planning his next move behind the camera. While most actors chase the next big role, Clint Eastwood chased something more lasting: control. By the late 1970s, he wasn't content just performing in front of the camera. He wanted to shape the story itself. In 1971, he directed his first film, Play Misty for Me, a psychological thriller about a disc jockey stalked by a fan. It was tense, stylish, and unexpected. Critics were caught off guard. Could this Western icon really direct? The answer came quickly, yes. And he wasn't just good, he was bold. Clint's directing style was unlike anything Hollywood was used to. He shot fast, he stayed under budget, and he trusted his instincts. While other directors demanded endless takes and extravagant setups, Eastwood kept it simple. 1 or 2 takes, minimal rehearsal, and a calm set. Throughout the 80s and 90s, his directorial work evolved. The outlaw Josie Wales showed emotional depth beneath the gunfire. Bronco Billy proved he could handle heart and humor. And Bird, his jazz biopic about Charlie Parker, revealed a filmmaker who understood pain, addiction, and genius in equal measure. But it was Unforgiven in 1992 that redefined him. This wasn't just a Western, it was a reckoning. Clint played a retired gunslinger dragged back into violence, a man haunted by the life he tried to leave behind. The film was dark, brutal, and introspective. It shattered the myths of the Old West, including the ones Clint himself helped create. Unforgiven won 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director. The industry finally admitted what audiences had known for years. Clint Eastwood wasn't just a movie star. He was one of the great American storytellers, and he was just getting started. But while his work flourished behind the camera, Clint's personal life was growing more complicated than ever. Behind Clint Eastwood's stoic image was a personal life that even Hollywood couldn't script. For decades, he carefully separated his on-screen persona from the chaos unfolding behind closed doors, but eventually, the pieces began to surface. In 1953, Eastwood married Maggie Johnson. It seemed like the start of something steady, but stability was never Clint's strong suit. Fame came fast. So did temptation. And Clint Eastwood's relationships, like his characters, didn't follow the rules. Affairs began to surface. Quiet at first, then louder. In 1964, a daughter named Lori was born. She was placed for adoption, and for decades, Eastwood's name wasn't linked to her at all. Not until the 1990s, when she used a private investigator to trace her biological father. By the time they reunited, she was already an adult. It's still unclear whether Clint ever knew she existed before then, but he welcomed her into his life without public drama. That was only the beginning. Around the same time, Clint had another daughter, Kimber, with stuntwoman Roxanne Tunis, a relationship that spanned over a decade, largely hidden from the public eye. Maggie Johnson reportedly knew, but the marriage held, at least for a while. With Maggie, Clint had 2 more children, Kyle and Allison. And while he seemed committed publicly, the truth was murkier. In 1975, Clint met actress Sondra Locke. The chemistry was instant, undeniable, and explosive. Though both were in relationships, they began living together. For over a decade, they were seen as inseparable. But the story behind the scenes was far more painful. Locke later claimed Eastwood pressured her into multiple abortions. When their relationship unraveled in the late 1980s, it ended in lawsuits, heartbreak, and tabloid headlines. It was one of the few times Eastwood's private life spilled into the public arena, and it wasn't pretty. Yet, even amid personal upheaval, he remained fiercely private. Children continued to emerge from different relationships in different chapters of his life. Scott and Catherine from flight attendant Jocelyn Reeves, Francesca with actress Frances Fisher, and finally Morgan with journalist Dina Ruiz, whom Clint married in 1996. In total, Eastwood has fathered at least 8 children, some publicly acknowledged, others only revealed years later. It's a web of relationships, reunions, and contradictions. But through it all, Clint rarely commented. He let the headlines swirl while he stayed focused on the work. Not perfect, not proud, just private. And as one relationship ended, another began, leading to one of the most controversial partnerships of his entire life. Eastwood met Sondra Locke in the 1970s on the set of The Outlaw Josie Wales. She was talented, magnetic, and sharp. And Eastwood, though still married to Maggie Johnson, was immediately drawn to her. Their on-screen chemistry was undeniable. Off-screen, it sparked a romance that would span more than a decade and leave scars that never fully healed. For 14 years, Sondra Locke and Clint Eastwood were inseparable in the public eye. They co-starred in 6 films together and lived as partners, even as their relationship remained unofficial and at times emotionally volatile. Behind the scenes, Locke would later describe their life together as controlling and complex. She claimed Eastwood discouraged her from having children and pressured her into undergoing multiple abortions during their time together. In 1989, when Locke discovered Eastwood had secretly fathered 2 children with another woman, Jocelyn Reeves, their relationship imploded, and what followed was no ordinary breakup. Locke filed a palimony suit exposing their private life in court documents. The legal battle dragged on, becoming a media spectacle. Eventually, Eastwood offered a settlement, a development deal at Warner Brothers that would allow Locke to direct her own films. But years later, she discovered that the deal had been a sham. No projects were ever seriously considered. Locke sued again, this time for fraud. Both lawsuits were eventually settled out of court, but the damage was lasting. Sondra Locke's career never fully recovered, and Clint Eastwood, who had always kept his private life guarded, found his image momentarily cracked in the public eye. He never spoke harshly about Locke in interviews, and after her death in 2018, he remained silent, allowing her legacy and the controversy to speak for itself. Their relationship was passionate, creative, and deeply fractured. It produced some of Clint's most iconic roles and some of his most painful headlines. But even in the wake of scandal, Eastwood kept moving forward, and what came next was one of the most surprising reinventions in Hollywood history. By the 1990s, Clint Eastwood had lived many lives: leading man, cowboy, anti-hero, director, and tabloid figure. But what no one expected was that, at a point when most stars fade quietly into retirement, Eastwood was about to enter a new era, one that would redefine him all over again. It started with Unforgiven. In 1992, Eastwood directed and starred in the bleak, poetic western about an aging outlaw pulled back into violence. It was more than just a great film, it was a reckoning. Unforgiven dismantled the mythology Clint had spent decades building. The gunslinger wasn't invincible, he was broken, haunted, human. The film swept the Oscars. Best Picture, Best Director, critical acclaim across the board. At 62, Eastwood had officially become a Hollywood elder statesman, but he wasn't done. In 2004, Million Dollar Baby proved lightning could strike twice. The film, a quiet story about a hardened boxing trainer and an ambitious young fighter, stunned audiences with its raw emotion and devastating twist. It won 4 Academy Awards, including another Best Director trophy for Eastwood. And once again, he starred and directed, proving that his creative energy hadn't dimmed with age, it had deepened. Then came Gran Torino, a film few expected to hit as hard as it did. Eastwood played a bitter, aging war veteran confronting his own prejudice and grief. The role felt personal, not autobiographical, but certainly reflective. It was gruff, honest, and strangely redemptive. Critics began to realize something. Eastwood wasn't playing characters anymore. He was channeling pieces of himself: the stoic resolve, the regrets, the wisdom earned through decades of mistakes and hard-fought victories. These weren't vanity projects, they were statements, each one lean, efficient, and unflinchingly human. Eastwood had evolved from icon to artisan, and the industry took notice. While others chased youth and trends, Clint stayed true to what he knew: real people, moral gray areas, and simple storytelling done with precision. He didn't just stay relevant, he got sharper with age. But as the cameras kept rolling, Eastwood began quietly fading from the public eye, and soon rumors started to swirl. In early 2022, Clint Eastwood seemed to vanish. For over a year, the Hollywood legend wasn't seen at public events, red carpets, or even casual outings. No interviews, no paparazzi shots, nothing. For a man who'd remained active well into his 90s, the silence was deafening, and fans began to worry. Whispers spread online. Was Clint Eastwood sick? Had something happened behind the scenes? Even his absence from the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am, a golf tournament near his home in Carmel by the Sea, an event he never missed, fueled speculation. For the first time in years, Eastwood wasn't just private, he was invisible. Tabloids ran headlines hinting at declining health. Some claimed he was bedridden, others feared the worst, but no official word came from Clint, his family, or his team. And in true Eastwood fashion, he didn't address the rumors, he just stayed quiet. It wasn't the first time he'd pulled away from the spotlight, but this time felt different. After a lifetime of working nonstop, acting, directing, producing, had Eastwood finally stepped away for good? Even longtime fans began to wonder if Cry Macho, released in 2021, had been his final film. It had all the markings of a farewell, a weathered cowboy making one last journey, offering one last piece of wisdom before riding off into the sunset. But just when it seemed like Clint had disappeared for good, he reemerged, and the way he returned caught everyone off guard. In April 2023, after more than 450 days out of the public eye, Clint Eastwood finally stepped into the light again, and he did it his way. No press conference, no dramatic announcement, just a quiet appearance at a conservation event in Carmel by the Sea, his longtime home. He was seen smiling beside famed primatologist Jane Goodall, looking relaxed, lean, and unmistakably Clint, even with longer hair and a white beard that gave him the look of a retired gunslinger turned sage. The rumors vanished overnight, but what truly stunned people wasn't the appearance, it was what came next. That same year, reports confirmed that Eastwood was back on set, directing a new film, Juror Number 2, a courtroom thriller starring Nicholas Hoult and Toni Collette, had quietly gone into production in Georgia, with Eastwood behind the camera, giving direction with the same focus and energy he'd always had. He was 93. Where most filmmakers bow out long before retirement age, Eastwood was still calling shots, adjusting frames, shaping performances. Crew members described him as sharp, engaged, and fully in control. No ego, no drama, just work. His secret? Discipline, simplicity, and a quiet lifestyle that's kept him grounded. Eastwood has long followed a high-protein, low-fat diet, avoiding alcohol, keeping his cholesterol in check, and staying physically active well into his 90s. It's no accident he's still going strong. It's the result of choices made every day and lessons learned from watching his own father pass away far too young. That same dedication rubbed off on his son, actor Scott Eastwood, who often credits his father for instilling both his work ethic and his fitness regimen. Behind the gruff exterior is a man who's always been focused, not just on living long, but on living well. Clint may not move as fast as he once did, but he's still doing what he loves, still telling stories, still working with purpose. And at this stage in life, that's a legacy most people only dream of. His story isn't just a Hollywood tale, it's an American epic. He's been the nameless drifter, the grizzled cop, the haunted gunslinger, the hard-edged mentor, and through it all, he's remained fiercely, undeniably himself. He's weathered industry shifts, personal storms, and changing cultural tides, not by chasing relevance, but by staying rooted in truth, simplicity, and an unshakable sense of purpose. From a baby nicknamed Samson to a teenager expelled for rebellion, from a near-fatal plane crash to calmly walking onto a film set at age 93, never fit the mold. He's outlived his critics, outworked his peers, and outlasted the very myths he helped create. Yes, his personal life has been complicated. There were affairs, lawsuits, and long-buried secrets, but beneath it all was a man who kept moving forward, who kept creating, kept evolving, and kept choosing the next chapter over the last one. And now, in the twilight of his career, Clint isn't fading away. He's still writing, still directing, still shaping stories with the same raw honesty that made him a legend. Some call him old-fashioned. Others say he's the last of a dying breed. But maybe Clint Eastwood is simply what he's always been, a survivor, a storyteller, and one of the last true icons of American cinema. Drop a comment below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more forgotten Hollywood tales.